Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you love entrepreneurship and investing in real estate, then you are in the right place. Josh is the CEO of Freeland Ventures Real Estate Private Equity and has personally invested in well over 500 properties all across the country. He's also made hundreds of private lender loans and owns over 1,000 units of apartments. Josh is an expert at raising private money for deals, and he prides himself on never having had a boss in his entire adult life. Josh and his team also mentor investors and entrepreneurs from all over the world. He doesn't dream about doing deals. He actually does them, and so do his listeners and students. Now sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
So hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Accelerated Investor. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I'm so glad that you're taking time out of your very, very busy schedule, whether you have family, whether you have kids, whether you have a successful business, maybe you're running a startup, maybe you're a real estate investor or real estate entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, I'm sure that you're busy. So I want to congratulate you for taking time out to grow personally, grow your business, and listen and learn more about entrepreneurship, real estate, and pursuing your dreams. For all of you who've been sharing our episodes on social media and leaving us ratings and reviews, I just want to thank you so much for engaging with me and with Accelerated Investor. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Doug Shelton. Doug is the owner of Lease Purchase Ohio. He's done over 70 single-family flips. He's investing in the greater Cleveland market as well as the Cuyahoga County and Medina counties. Doug is now actively leveling up his business from single-family rentals and rehabs into commercial and multifamily real estate. He started in the mortgage sales industry, and Doug has an amazing kind of background and experience in both construction, financing, rehabbing, multifamily, and is going to share a little bit more about his journey. I also know that my team at Freeland plays golf and played golf with Doug, who can absolutely pound the ball off the tee, I've heard. And so, Doug, thanks so much for joining us today on Accelerated Investor. What's happening?
Josh, thanks so much for having me, man. I am super honored to be here, and yeah, we had some good times on the golf course there with some of your guys there. It was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug is a relatively new friend, kind of getting to know each other more and more over the past year or so. We just funded a 24-unit apartment building for him and his partner Tim Bratz in Medina, Ohio. We stepped in, they brought the deal. We stepped in to fund the first mortgage debt as well as some of the down payment and some of the money that had to go down. So Doug, let's talk a little bit more about your investing business today. Tell us a little bit more about your money-making strategy. What are you doing to make income? What are you focused on? And really why? Like, why are you focused on that particular strategy?
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. So today is more of a, we have a full-time fix and flip operation. About 3 years ago, we brought in-house construction, which was huge for us. We have 2 crews. We've really dialed in and have become really efficient at being able to fix up not only the single family, but this is going to lead right into the multifamily. And again, that multifamily is a little bit newer space for me, but long-term, that is definitely the goal. And I will say I'm not ready to give up the fix and flips just yet. The reason why, it's always kind of been my bread and butter. We've seen success along the way, not only from a monetary standpoint, but as a time freedom standpoint, and but the goal is moving forward, definitely want to really focus in on multifamily. We're kind of steering the ship, I would say, so we don't want to give up necessarily what got us here, but we do want to kind of steer the ship towards some long-term wealth building strategies. So
fantastic. So tell us a little bit more in the resi space, in your fix and flip business. The common questions that I get as a mentor and as a coach that we're constantly trying to answer for our audience and for our students is, how are you finding deals in today's market? It's obviously very competitive. And how are you finding capital and cash and private lenders to fund your deals?
Yeah, no, great question. In fact, that has been, one of the struggles. The deal flow has definitely slowed down in recent years. I think a big thing is the networking aspect. I try to do a good job with getting around the right people, including yourself, but just to talk to everybody out there, tell everybody kind of what you're doing. And it's amazing where we've seen some deals. I mean, I definitely have a good amount of deal flow that come from like wholesalers, in the area, and they get a hold of some stuff. I've given my criteria. Hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. If you stumble across something, I'd love to work together. But also, the more and more people, it seems like you tell, it could be, hey, my, grandma's aunt's former tennis coach has a house for sale, and we thought of you, So I think it's important to really get the word out. We're out there constantly trying to, find more and more deals and good deals at that. Sometimes when this space gets crowded from a deal perspective, some people might think it's a deal, and we try to stay pretty disciplined to our numbers and our formula just to make sure that, we're not kind of reaching for something. So.
Got it. And how about from a funding perspective? What are you doing to kind of expand your wings, get more access to more capital, whether it's institutional money, bank financing, institutional private money, or working specifically with smaller private lenders? What all goes into that for your business to make sure the fix and flip operation continues to hum along?
Yeah. So a little bit similar, on the networking front, but also to be smart about who you're talking to about the money piece. On the multifamily side, I will say some of the private lending is more of an education piece to someone. You can say, hey, you've got this money maybe parked in some CD making 2-3%, even if it's going to be that. Or, you might be able to parlay that into something different. And, again, doing that and still staying within those SEC guidelines, which I know you're an expert at, but kind of going that realm. And then on the single family, it's funny talking to there's money seems to be not readily available, but maybe a little bit more available than it has in the past years. So just making the right connections and talking to the right people as far as, showing that we have experience, that we've had success. So just kind of going that route and just, forming those connections for the future. So
love it. Yeah. To me, I had a friend of mine tell me years ago, it was like money will find its way into every crack in the sidewalk. Money that is, money is readily available. Even during the Great Recession, money was available, and good deals will always get funded, right? The right deal will always get funded if you talk to enough people, talk to the right people. People want to be with the right deal, with the right operator.
Right.
So when you're talking with a private lender or you're networking for deal flow, is there anything that you say particularly? Do you have a pitch? Do you have like a couple, like a 30-second elevator speech? What do you kind of do to make yourself immediately stand out, whether it's looking for deals or looking for money?
Well, yeah. So good point. So, a mutual friend of ours, Tim Bratz, I've really, taken a lot from him, partnered up with that deal with them. And so when it comes to that, I found out that if you kind of put something out there instead of going to hunt for it, just kind of saying, hey, if you were, someone maybe that would like to get investing in real estate and make, possibly these returns or have a small piece of equity and not so much trying for the hard sell right off the get-go. I mean, that alone is a golden nugget. I mean, that right there, I think it gets people thinking, and especially when you say something like, hey, do you happen to know somebody that, may want to get into this arena? And people, I think, like human nature just makes them think, well, what about me? Like, what do you mean? Do I know someone? Like, what, so that's been a pretty successful way to go about it. And also too, I mean, I've been doing this full time now for about 5 years. So I think that's helped establish some credibility, and people see maybe a certain level of success and they say, hey, just how can I get involved?
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think there's the whole argument of like, I have experience, and then there's the argument of a certain return on investment that I can get. And I think having both, the combination of both, is really what makes it go. But I mean, I raised money, and you did too, and Tim did too, and a lot of other guests have raised capital with very, very little experience. So when I meet somebody for the very first time and they say, hey, I think the easiest way, and I teach this from stage, I teach this to my students, so I'll pass this along in this podcast because it's at the front of my mind. When I'm talking with new people, whether I'm at a networking event or I'm at one of my kids' soccer games or a football game, and inevitably, like women are really good at talking about stuff, like important stuff. I don't know how it is. My wife can meet a brand new person, another woman, and they can hit it off, and they can talk for 2 hours about God knows what. And they actually, when they're done, they're best friends, they're holding hands. I'm like, oh my God, Lisa, you just met this other woman. For dudes, it's like how's the weather? Like, where do your kids go to school? And then eventually, like, the third or fourth question becomes, so what do you do? Right? For a lot of guys. So what do you do? And just guys just are, the weather, like what's going on with sports, and then what do you do? That's typically what I found, the top 3 things we talk about. And so what I found is if I ask somebody, so what do you, I don't say, so what do you do? I think that's like my dad's way, my father's way, the 60 and 70 and 80-year-old way of saying, like, let's connect. So what do you do? So what I ask people is, I say, well, so what are you into? So what are you into? So then whoever I'm talking to can basically take it. They can take it down the path of work, or they can take it down the path of something personal, sports, whatever. So if I just find that the guy's not really opening up, or just I want him to get involved. So yeah. So what are you into, man? So what do you do? So he'll talk for a minute, and then eventually, what are they going to say? They're going to ask us in return, right? So Josh, what do you do? And then I just go into my 15-second to 30-second presentation or speech almost every single time. Something I actually learned from Kevin O'Leary when he was at our event. He said, look, out of all the businesses that got funded on Shark Tank, they did a study of all the businesses that got funded, and 100% of them on Shark Tank, 100% of them, the operator who was at the front of the room in front of the sharks was able to convey their business opportunity in 1 minute or less. That was a recurring theme on 100%. They were able to successfully convey it in a minute or less. So when I was talking to Kevin and he presented this from stage at our event, I thought about that. I said, okay, so I gotta winnow down my presentation to literally 30 seconds. So what I say to people now when they ask me, what do you do, is I raise capital for real estate. We buy foreclosures, distressed properties, and apartment buildings, and we pay our investors a fixed double-digit rate of return.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, that's great to just, shoot right to the point and let them know exactly what you do, and there's no question marks there.
Yeah, and what it does too for a lot of people is what they say, well, how does that work? Right? That's always the second question. How does that work? And a little tongue in cheek, I said, well, it works great. Instead of actually telling them how it actually works, it works great. And we've been doing it forever. And, if you want to talk more about it sometime, we can do that. But, I primarily spend my time raising money. And I just find it cracks the conversation wide open, which is all I really want, right? To meet somebody new, to build a new relationship. So Doug, tell me a little bit more about your transition now. You love the fix and flip business, making good money with it, 5 years of experience, done over 70 flips. Tell me a little bit more about your kind of dipping your toe into multifamily, this 24 unit that we funded, partnered up with Tim on. How is it going? Tell us a little bit more about that deal.
Yeah, no, it's going good. So I think, when we first acquired it, the people who were in there kind of used to a certain way how things were run. Now that we've come in and we're starting to make some good, really good progress to the renovations, but also too, we're trying to make sure that the people in there are really the right fit, for the area as well. So sometimes it's kind of a balancing act a little bit. You have a lot of people that have a lot of questions. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to get an opportunity to get back in here? And so, I think that's where that partnership is super important, is that, you really have to go about stabilizing this the right way, because there's rules and I know my big piece of it is really getting the building beautiful again. So we're going to be doing some big stuff to it, though. I'm really excited to put some stuff out there. We have a lot of work to do to it, but it's trending in the right direction. And it's really been a fun and learning process as we've gone to this. I will say, from a renovation standpoint, there's a lot of similarities. It's kind of like a big fix and flip almost, but you're not flipping it. It's a big fix. It's a fix times 24 instead of just kind of that
right. In my newest real estate investing book, The Flip System, you'll learn the proven secrets and strategies that I've used to be a successful real estate investor. You'll also hear the story of my journey from quitting my job to doing over 2,000 units of apartments. The Flip System is now available for a limited time, and you can grab your free copy at getflipsystem.com/podcast. You'll learn the same proven principles and secrets and investing strategies that I used to quit my job and pursue a life of financial freedom. In this book, I'm sharing exactly how I was able to personally close over 750 profitable real estate deals, make over 400 private lender loans, raise over $30 million, and acquire over 2,000 units of cash flowing apartments. Get my newest book now for free at getflipsystem.com/podcast. That's getflipsystem.com/podcast. So you've got the two different kind of compartments of a multifamily deal. You've got all the common spaces, you've got the roof, you've got the landscaping, the parking lots, the exteriors, and then you've got each individual unit, right? Doing the exteriors, doing the roof, doing the parking lots kind of easier because you can do it on a mass scale. You don't have to really bother as much with the tenants. That part it can kind of knock out. But then as leases turn over, right, as people are thinking, well, I'm only paying X amount of dollars. Right. Now you want to fix up my unit and jack up my rent. Right. Tell me a little bit more about that, because that's where these relationships and communication comes in, as well as some of the landlord-tenant law, right? So yes. How are you seeing some lease turnovers, and how's that piece going?
Yeah, we are. I think people, some people were in there and just thinking, hey, I just, if I can continue to pay X amount, which happened to be a super low amount, and I don't mind if if my unit is distressed or it's not, kind of up to par. What we've run into, though, and just having conversations with people, I think it's so important to just go up and find out what people want. You never know until you ask. So we've actually run into a few people that they're like, oh my gosh, I think it's great that you're, going to be putting these big, massive roofs on and kind of changing the aesthetics and, changing out the windows and redoing these units. And, I would definitely pay more if we lived in a nicer, area or community, a nicer unit and stuff. So I think, it's important to just talk to people and find out what people want. I've been on site, a whole bunch over there, just kind of, monitoring everything. And we've run into, little pitfalls here and there, nothing monumental, but it's been important to just talk to the people and kind of see. And I will say, if I had to put a percentage on it, maybe 70% are like, we're here strictly for the rental amount. So if you guys are going to be kind of changing changing the rent and fixing things up, we're probably not going to hang around. But, the good news is it's in a fantastic location. I know you have listeners all over the country, but, it's really it's a Class A suburb of Cleveland. And, it's in talking to some of the people that I already know, whether it be city officials or, they're like, this is really the last kind of bad building, in our community. And that's the formula you want. You want the worst building in the best areas. So it's really been good, and it's going to take a little time, but I'm super excited to kind of share that what it looks like at the end.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too when you guys refinance it and stabilize and cash flowing. 24 units, jack up the rents. I remember Tim telling me when you guys walked the building for the first time, I think out of the 24 units, like 20 people were home in the middle of the day. Nobody had a job. Nobody was like leaving the apartment. You're like, I don't know if this is the exact tenant that we want. So turning that over takes some time. You have to wait for leases to expire and ask people to move out and then approve the unit, turn it over, and then move somebody else in. That's fantastic. So Doug, tell us a little bit more, tell our audience a little bit more about your past. You got into real estate full-time 5 years ago. What was happening 5 and 10 years ago? What were you doing? When did you catch the real estate bug? Was it something that you're like, man, I want to get into real estate because this other job I had totally sucked? You were going through something that was bad. It was maybe a pain point and you wanted to make a pivot? Or was it something that you just, things were already pretty good, but you thought, I want more. I think I can do more. Real estate's an avenue that I've seen a lot of people pursue, passive income, legacy wealth, more equity, or maybe a combination of running away from some pain points and then also pursuing a bigger, better future. So tell us a little bit more about that time in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can kind of remember I first got into real estate investing almost by default. A lot of us remember 2008, right? It's kind of a pivotal point there, but
what happened?
We were living in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was in the Navy, and we were stationed in Norfolk, and then I moved back, and then it was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now. We had moved down to Charlotte. We spent about 10 years down there, had both of our kids down there. So I was working in banking, and banking was huge in Charlotte. Still is.
Huge. Still is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, I'm working with some of the bigger banks in town. And so I'm working with, and I kind of caught a run of these investors, and they're calling, and then I'm doing loans for them. And then they're having their buddies call me and doing loans for them. So I'm reviewing a lot of tax returns. I'm reviewing a lot of financial documents, and I'm kind of seeing a commonality to all these, and that they're all killing it. They're crushing it. They're taking things down. They're investing in real estate. And I thought, it was great to help them. It was great business, for me at the time. But I remember having that aha moment, like I could be doing this as well, And so going back to that 2008, we had a house in Charlotte, and then we bought another house, and thinking, we'll have no problem selling our old house. We went ahead and bought the new one without having to sell, and it eventually didn't sell. We became landlords, but it was at that point, and this wasn't, change your life money, but I think we were probably cash flowing somewhere around $750 a month. And, my wife and I are like, this is, we both had pretty modest car payments back then. We're like, this is covering both like our car payments at the time. Yeah. So, we're like, this is fantastic. So it was at that point, we slowly kind of started to, learn more about real estate investing. And then in 2014 is actually when we came back to Cleveland. Both my wife and I are from the area. And I just told her, I said, I'm not going back to work for the banks. Like, I want to bet on ourselves. Like, I want to do this full time. And that's really when the flipping started. So.
Nice. So really a big pivot, moved back home, left the old job, just time to start new, right? And figured, let's just do this. Let's bank on ourselves, which is great. And that, Doug, it takes a lot of guts to do that. So tell me a little bit more about how that was feeling when you said, like, I want to bank on myself, leave the, not the guarantee, but the consistency of the job, the paycheck, the insurance, the medical bills, the 401k, all that being covered.
Right.
To now I'm going to bet on myself, right? And now I've got wife and a couple kids, and we've moved back to Cleveland, and probably a lot going through your mind. You've got family that's kind of looking, you've made this pivot, but what is he doing? He's not going to have a job. So what's going through your mind as the head of a house, as a husband, as a father, as a new entrepreneur? You're back in Cleveland. Like, were you excited? Were you scared? Combination of both? Like, But what allowed you to say, like, I'm in now, I'm going to bet on myself? Because that's a huge decision.
Yeah. So you nailed it before when you said kind of what pain or what discomfort almost led you to that. And if anybody, has been in the banking industry, I mean, I was literally stuck in a cubicle for like 10 to 12 hours a day, and so I'm working 60, 70 hours a week. My commute was like 50 minutes per day per way. And so, I mean, I think everybody has a breaking point or where you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, there's got to be something better, right? There's, and so I think that was a big push for me. And going back to like how you're feeling, yeah, it's definitely some anxiety, some excitement. There's, a little bit of scared feelings in there for sure. But, I think for everybody listening and you're kind of hemming and hawing on taking that step. I mean, I think everyone that has seen some level of success as an entrepreneur has made that leap. Sometimes the leap is huge. Sometimes it's just a small leap. But so I would say we probably fell right in the middle. We were actually moving back out of state. And, thank goodness my wife, she had landed a fantastic job back in the Cleveland market. So that was a huge help for us. That was a great thing for us. And for me to be able to kind of take that leap, but also too, going back to what you said, were there anything kind of drawing you towards that? And, I would say, the money in the beginning for sure it was all about making the money. But right. As we've seen growth and scale, I think it's really kind of more about like time freedom, right? I mean, being able to, go out with a few of your high level guys in the company and go play golf, or just, kind of go that route. So I think, it's the money in the beginning, and the money's still a factor, but I think eventually the time freedom is really, really the big draw.
Yeah. The personal freedom, man, is what it's all about for me. There's no question that I do it now for personal freedom. We've had years where we've absolutely crushed it. Massive businesses, massive income, massive growth and equity. We've had years where we've lost money and gotten our teeth kicked in. And I look back, and even on these years when we've lost money, had our teeth kicked in, I loved the fact that I was still had that personal freedom where I was able to work from home when I wanted, go to the office when I wanted, record podcasts when I wanted, recruit capital when I wanted. Now, of course, I do it within a structure of a business, right? We've got 30, 40 employees. We've got a lot of different teams, marketing teams, sales teams. We do loans. We recruit private money. We own assets. We own apartments. We do it all within the framework of a business, right? I've still got to lead the company, drive the ship. But I still got that personal freedom. I can work at midnight if I want, or 2 a.m, or go to the gym in the morning, as long as it's done within the framework of making sure I'm not disrupting everybody else's program and everybody else's system at the office. But that personal freedom is amazing to me. Coaching my kids in volleyball and soccer and football. Right now, Doug, you got young kids, man. You know how it is. Like, you're getting into coaching season. It's the fall. They're going to be going back to school soon. I'm coaching 4 sports this fall: 6th grade volleyball, 4th grade volleyball, 2nd grade flag football, and 2nd grade padded flag. I'm going to be busy every night with sports. I absolutely love it. That is the essence of personal freedom, right? If I had a job working at the bank or as a financial advisor, I wouldn't get home until 6 or 7 o'clock, and the kids are already done with their sports for the most part. Instead, I'll be the dad, just like you. I'll be the dad at the games, at the field, coaching our kids. And then the other fathers that have regular jobs will be showing up at the end and being like, hey, how was practice, Johnny? You know what I mean? That's the essence of personal freedom, right? That's what it's all about.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I'm getting into a little bit of that too, doing some assistant coaching on the golf side and a little on baseball, which is over now, but jumping back into next year. And you're right. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it if you just kind of have that. You say 9 to 5, but these companies, and the bigger the job, the more they push, and So yeah, you're 100% right.
And almost nobody works just from one office anymore. Everybody's traveling. Everybody that I know that's a corporate job is traveling at least 1 or 2 or 3 days a week. Nobody ever seems to be just planted in their territory, right? And just working, 8 to 6. it's like you're going to work 8 to 6 or 8 to 7. And oh, by the way, you're also going to travel 2 or 3 days a week. So it just seems like a wild, wild corporate world these days. So Doug, what about the future for you? Like you've done you're very successful with fix and flips, raising capital, doing deals. You've got this 24 unit, which is, a multi-million-dollar asset that you guys are going to have stabilized this year. But tell me a little bit more about the future. What do you foresee? What do you want your life to look like and your business to look like in the next 3, 5, 10 years? How do you forecast that? What are you looking to gain from your business? And also, how does that translate into your personal freedom?
Yeah, no, great question. I think goals are huge, you have to have some sort of measurement of success. And so we've actually started trying to dial in like quarterly goals, but we definitely have annual. But to go back to like the 3 to 5 to 10 year goals, again, talking about the multifamily and I look at that, almost that 3-year goal as, you try to be ambitious and lofty with goals. So for me, like in the next 3 years, I would love to acquire 1,000 units. Now that may or may not be lofty. I mean, one deal could fulfill that, but I figure I'd put that into place, kind of a 3-year goal. I want to continue to learn, because here's the other thing too. I don't want to just pick up any units. I'm not a big war zone guy. I've always focused on the fix and flips in a decent area. So I would say like C plus and above. I mean, I love it to just be A and B. So I think that's more of to truly buy wholesale apartment buildings. I think it's going to be a little bit slower road, and that's okay. And it's okay because this is a long-term play anyway. But then probably getting into 5 years, I feel like we should be able to double that and get to 2,000 units and actually maybe focus a little bit more on some systems, some better systems, automation, getting those kind of things in place. I mean, if I look at the next 5 years and what that looks like in the future, I really want to go hard at this. I want to be, in acquisition mode and really, really hitting it hard for the next 5 years.
Nice.
So then, jumping at 10 years, I would say, I don't have a unit number on it. I would say for me, it would be super important. My kids, my son is 10, my daughter's 11. So I look in 10 years, obviously wouldn't force them to be part of this, but would love to see them be a bigger part of the business and what we're creating now. And of course, with a little bit of pointers from Dad, but to really, to really have them to be engaged with the business. And I would say I would couple that with 10 years and having enough capital where maybe, I'm on a super passive side and maybe I'm lending some private money and just becoming part of deals that way. But I would say, that's kind of the structure of what that looks like in the next, 3, 5, 10 years down the road.
Yeah. Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. Once you're in acquisition mode and you've got the units and all that stuff is paying for your lifestyle, then it's like, okay, well, now I could be a little bit more choosy and just buy the assets that I want and just add because all your regular daily expenses and living is completely covered. And that sense of financial independence allows you to just kind of even to be more aggressive by finding deals and looking for deals, but then also when they're at the top of the pipeline, just pick the right ones. Because as we know with apartment buildings and units, whether it's single family or multifamily or massive apartment buildings, once you own the asset, you're not getting rid of it, right? You're kind of married to that asset for the next 20 or 30 years. So you want to really own that thing and take care of it, but also choose it right at the beginning. So yes. Really, really important to do that. So Doug, what about, right, so kind of round third and head for home here as far as like just wrapping up this interview. help me understand, right? Everybody that's done a fix and flip, right? Everybody that's done a lot of deals has that one deal that stands out, right? The one deal that went amazingly well, or that one deal that totally went to hell, a total dumpster fire. Everyone's got that one deal. It's usually at the top of their mind. So tell us a little bit more about that. Is there one that kind of sticks out for you? What happened, good, bad, or ugly?
Yeah. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to have, a decent amount on the good side. But I will say I can truly remember one that kicked me in the teeth so hard that it really made me think what I'm doing, right? So
yeah, that's what I want to hear about.
Highlights of it. But so, big house, bought it from the auction actually. So got to kind of see the outside, didn't get inside. It was occupied. Big house, so 3,000 square feet. Great area, Hinckley, Ohio, which actually is a community I live in, and they just don't come available that often. And so this thing had an 8-car garage attached. It was this big house. So we kind of go in and there's a family living there. Now, this is another fine line to walk because you don't want to come off as a monster. Obviously these people have lost the house, and you don't want to be, just get out right away. But two, you can't, you can't be too nice because they'll just take advantage of you as well. So I think we had given these folks, I want to say around 3 months, to move out. We had some other projects going anyway. So we give them this time to get out. And when they get out, Josh, I've never seen anything like this in my life, but and for those of you who have dealt with dumpsters, let's say, on a clean out or something. So a lot of times we use one 40-yard dumpster to clean out a small ranch, right? 14 40-yard dumpster. Oh. There were 2 years worth of pizza boxes and dirty diapers in this beautiful 8-car garage. This thing's a monster garage. And it is, I'm 6'4", it was over my head piled up with the worst. When we saw that, I was literally what am I doing? And I've already given these people 3 months and to see them kind of, kick me in the teeth, this way. And we probably worked on that house for 6 months straight. And had guys over like crazy. I had my cousin, and all his college buddies, they're just helping me fill up these dumpsters. It was just, it was so insane. We found drug paraphernalia inside the house. we try to make everything safe and just great for the next buyer, but oh my gosh, that was the one that really kept me up at night, got me thinking holy cow, what am I doing? What am I doing? So
nice.
That one will always go down with me as
Love it. So that definitely takes first place, I think, on my long 15-year journey in real estate. I've never heard of a deal with 14 dumpsters. So congratulations on earning the trophy. Fantastic. So Doug, as we kind of wrap up here, the last question, love to hear your thoughts on this. 5 years of experience, 70 flips, apartments, 14 dumpsters. Looking back, right, what would be the number one piece of advice that you would pass along to our audience or give back to your younger, former, less mature self, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in real estate, raising capital, whatever it is? What's one thing that you wish you could tell yourself when you were less mature in business or less mature as a man, or something that you just think is going to help our audience move forward?
That's an excellent question. I would say the biggest thing that if I could go back and work on earlier, or even, because I talk to a lot of people as well trying to get in, but I would say mindset is number one. You have to have the right mindset. You see this level of success and you think, well, I can't do it, or, there's so many doubts that run through your head. So I would say, and mindset, and not only that, pay attention to the right people. There's too many people in this industry that, let's say they flip a couple houses and all of a sudden they're selling courses on it, and I think, really find the person who has what you want and just get around them at whatever, whether it be networking meetings, if they put on some kind of mastermind or what have you. Spend the time, spend the money, spend the resources to get around and pay attention to the right people, get your mindset right. Just allow yourself to think about how much success you can have in the future. That was actually a hurdle for me early on. I was thinking, and I always did well with the banking and stuff, but I thought, how could I make these, bigger amounts every year? And it was almost like a roadblock that I had. So definitely mindset, pay attention to the right people. And again, that network is so important. So I'll tell you this, one of the reasons I really love golf and getting around people that golf, you get to spend 4 to 5 hours with somebody in a really concentrated environment. Not only that, though, you get to see the way these people, because for those of you who do golf, it's not an easy sport all the time. And you get to see the way that they kind of react to adversity. If they hit a bad shot, are they cracking the club over their knee and tossing it in the lake? Or are they, picking their head up and saying, I'm going to get up and down for par anyway, So I like that piece of it too, is to go back, network, again, with the right people and really get your mindset right to accept success.
Yeah, love it, Doug. That's fantastic. So if anybody that's listening to this wants to reach out and connect with you, like what's a good way? Instagram, Facebook, website? What's a good way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is Facebook. It's just Doug Shelton. And it's, I do try to check the private messages and I try to, kind of get back to each and every one, as long as you're not trying to sell me something right off the rip, like a lot of them do. But,
right.
But yeah, Facebook's usually an easy way. We're actually working on kind of revamping our website, just leasepurchaseohio.com. So we're kind of making some changes there. But, email wise, it's always just lpocleveland@gmail.com. That's kind of our business email. And that's a good way. But probably the easiest way would be Facebook. And again, it's just Doug Shelton. So
fantastic, Doug. Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your insights about real estate entrepreneurship. And for all of our audience, if you've enjoyed this, definitely let us know. Share this on social media. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. Connect with Doug. Thanks so much for joining us today, Doug, on Accelerated Investor.
Josh, thanks so much for having me. I'm truly honored that I was able to be a part of this today. Thank you again.
You bet. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to Josh Cantwell and the Accelerated Investor Podcast. Leave a comment on our iTunes channel and let us know what you want to learn next or who you'd like Josh to interview. While you're there, give us a 5-star rating and make sure to subscribe so you can be the first to hear new episodes. Follow Josh Cantwell and his companies, Strategic Real Estate Coach and Freeland Ventures, on all social media platforms now, and stay up to date on new training and investment opportunities. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, apply for coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com.